Hi, everyone, and welcome again to another session at Freeplay 2020. My name is Chad Toprak. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm the director of Freeplay. I'd like to begin by acknowledging that Freeplay hosts and broadcasts from the stolen lands of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nations, where stories have been shared and games have been played since time immemorial. We pay our respects to elders past, present, and emerging, and to anyone watching who has a connection to the world's oldest continuing culture. Sovereignty was never ceded, and the violence of the colonial project is ongoing. Freeplay also stands in solidarity with Black communities, both here and around the world, against prejudice, injustice, and violence. Black Lives Matter is not a new or revolutionary statement, but it is one that needs to be said and said again and said louder. So welcome to the session called Listening and Sounding as Play. Here with us, we have Nguyen. Nguyen is a Melbourne-based animator, designer, and filmmaker investigating the playful potential of sound in animation, games, and interactive media. She's been conducting sound walks in Melbourne and exploring the various ways in which found sounds can inform improvisational 2D animation and gameplay. Nguyen has showed her work in Vietnam, Finland, the United States, Japan, and Australia. Please make Nguyen welcome, and I will hand it over to you, Nguyen.
Thank you so much, Chad. Thanks so much, Freeplay, for having me. Hi, everyone. My name is Uyen, and I am very excited to be here to tell you everything about YOMECI, which stands for You, Me, and the City. And I will be very happy to answer any of your questions that you might have at the end of this. So just a little introduction to what this series is before I move on to telling you why and how it all started, and how with these works I seek to make everyone feel joyful, heard, and belong. Let me just start sharing my slides, which is here. Oh. Wrong slides. So welcome everyone to Listening and Sounding as Play. So YOMECI is a series of works that investigates the playful and embodying potential of found sound, listening and sounding through the different forms it takes. YOMECI was a web animated series, as some of the screenshots you're looking at here. Then it became a mobile pervasive game, and then a sound responsive interactive installation, which is also its current form at the moment. I am now going back to let's go back to the first day of You, Me, and the City. So I moved to Melbourne a couple of years ago when I started to listen more to everyone and everything with my fullest attention, and listening to the city in particular. I was an animation student back then and was supposed to finish the script so that I could start animating. But instead of sitting in the studio to work, I decided to walk around Melbourne instead. So I headed out of the studio to the streets and started walking and listening to the city. I didn't know what this was till later, which I found out called sound walking. You walk to listen, and you listen attentively. So when I did that, I started to hear all kinds of quieter sounds in the ubiquity of others. And I have been still doing it till now. Recently, like a couple of weeks ago at the beginning of lockdown, I was walking to get groceries and I started hearing this sound, which was of the trains. I know that there are a few stations around my house, but I've never heard the train that close. And it was because everybody was staying at home. There was much less traffic sounds, so I could hear the train. And it was such a new feeling that I could hear the train that close. And when I walked home that day before going to bed, in my bed, I could still hear it. So that was really new. So when I did sound walking in Melbourne, I heard people talking, just snippets, but my animator's animation was really excited and wild. Thinking of all the little stories or ideas that I could come up with from from the things that I heard. So I recorded my walks and animated sounds of the city and its people. And I'm going to share with you some of the results of YOMECI when I play with listening.
Can you see out there? Can you see outside? Can you see flowers?
I will bring you flowers and I will keep you near. It's something dogs will do, and I am a dog too.
You fucking dinosaur! Find the park! Find the park, you fucking dinosaur!
Come to the pub with us tonight. Your size is just amazing. We want to buy you drinks.
Okay, let me see which ones are there. Come here. You want this red and yellow or this one? Green and red. Which one you want? Quickly decide. This one or this one?
Thank you. Thank you.
There you go.
Whatever you want, whenever the time. I'll make your wish come true. However good you want me to.
See, that's the thing. You don't need all this shit. No, we can play good music. Yeah, we can turn down the lights. That disco ball, get everything ready. Nice house party.
All the stars in the sky and the bright city lights. I just want more of your eyes, the way they look at mine.
Oh, I accidentally pressed next, but the last slide was the two friends under the disco lights. So I went along completely without any scripts for these animation. Even when animating, I didn't write a complete story to animate. I just started animating. I let myself be playful instead of devoted to something I hadn't figured out yet. And I've never done it before, and I had so much fun doing it. I loved the spontaneity, and I giggled a lot when I worked. That was, I think, the first time in my life I've never been that playful doing work. But it wasn't all fun though. Listening and attending to everything, I was exhausted at points from wanting to be there for all that was happening on the streets. I was picking up words, listening to everything at the same time, living people's stories. I remember one day I was feeling super emotional after a 2 or 3 hours walk of like intensive listening and recording, and just attending to everything that was going on in life. And I walked straight to my animation studio after that day's session and just had to talk to someone. So I talked to my studio lead back then, who was Chris, and I still remember going a little bit teary because I just felt like too much. I've never listened to everything that much in my life. And the feeling of immersing yourself in sound and being in the world, I've never had that before. So the chat was really helpful. And I think from doing all these sound walks and listening to Melbourne, I felt more connected to the city and its people that way. I was very new to Melbourne then, but yeah, I loved it. Instead of being an animator, just sitting in the studio in front of my Cintiq, drawing things frame by frame, I am really glad that I tried to be more playful and walked outside the studio to the streets. Yeah, so I felt more belong to Melbourne and have been still listening. I was thinking if I could bring this to more people, it would be nice if we tried listening. So I made a game as an attempt to create a playful listening experience. That was and that brings us to the second form of YOMECI, which is a mobile pervasive game. With YOMECI Mobile, you play by walking and listening to the city and recording sounds. You create a digital world on your phone by feeding it urban sounds. So the first sound creates the landscape, and different sounds will make different creatures who might be friends with each other in this world. Here are just some of the photos from the playtest that we did 2 years ago with some of my friends from the animation game studio. So we recorded all kinds of sounds as we walked, the tram, traffic lights, ourselves talking, and my friend Homie even tried knocking on things in order to find out if it created a creature. So I was, this is still being made, but I would share with you these concept arts of creatures being and or becoming friends with each other. I was exploring the theme of friendship and connecting, accepting each other, and seeking to evoke the sense of heartfeltness in this work. So yeah, let's watch these concept vignettes. So these vignettes are created with the theme of friends, and I also went an extra step in naming them to the theme of friends. So this one is called "I've Got Your Back," because I was looking into symbiotic pairs of animals in real life. And I found out that monkeys and deer, they close together in an area when they look for food in order to watch out for each other. So you're looking at croissant monkey and bubblegum deer. They are watching out for each other. They've got each other's back. The next one, I named this one I'll Be You and You Be Me, because they came across each other and they accepted each other and started bonding through sharing the wobbling effect. The next one is Friends at First Bump, because they bumped into each other and they share an attribute of each other, and becoming friends that way. The next one is I Get By with a Little Help from My Friend. So this donut guy is running, but he fell down because of the strong wind created by this taller guy. And as soon as this one, the taller guy, realized that he was doing that to his donut friend, he stopped and helped him stand back up. The last one is called I'll Change for You, because these guys looks like they can't really connect, but if just one shifting himself a little bit, they are compatible. And the scene is lovely. So with this work, these are just a bunch of other creature sketches that I did in order to explore how I could have creatures that takes inspiration from real life symbiotic animals, and also the different ways in which they can connect with each other. So with this work, YOMECI Mobile, I intend to create an opportunity for people who play it to listen to the city and explore all the quirky things created by different sounds that might be friends with each other in this world. For example, sound of a seagull might be friends with, or the thing that's created by sound of a seagull might be friends in this world with a creature created by tram sounds, for example. And players could influence the world the way they like, which might shape their own listening experience walking the city, and thus potentially feel like they know a side of the city they haven't known before, and hopefully would feel more belonged and connected to it, like what happened to me. After this, and after 2 years of intensive listening to the city, I then had this thought of, oh, but what about sound making? Would I feel belong to a place if I feel like I am heard? Or if I can make sound, if I can have a voice? And that became YOMECI Land. This work was commissioned by Buncho Plays late last year, and I still feel really fortunate that we got to stage this at Buncho Plays for a larger audience to experience, because I felt super different doing something on screen and staging something in real life like this. It was at Buncho Place for 10 days, and I tried to be there as many days as possible, just sitting at the back watching people play it. I had so much joy doing it. Yeah, I'll just show you a short video of some of the footages of what happened there, and I'll start discussing it. So in YOMECI land, in this form, YOMECI is called YOMECI land, and it is a sound responsive installation, sound responsive interactive installation. So what it looked was, it was staged in the Bunch of Play studio with a central plinth, on top of which is a yellow shiny tempting button that when someone push it, the world on the screen will start listening for a duration of 4 to 5 seconds, and you call out creatures to inhabit the world that way. So you would make sound into this microphone, and it creates a fauna or flora in your messy land digital world, be it whispering, clapping, stepping, whistling, chewing, humming, or going freestyle. We had so many young audience, so many young participants going all crazy with a freestyle prompt, and being there and seeing all different kind of things emerge that we, like, even when designing it, hadn't planned before was amazing. It brought so much joy to us, and I was so glad seeing all the laughter that happened in this gallery space for the participants. Also, we have parents tickling their kids in order to help their kids call out this laughing deer that only comes when you laugh. And because we use machine learning in order to know which sound is made into the microphone, and to call out specific creature in the world, and trained it using genuine laughter sounds. When I play tested it and tried to fake a laugh, it didn't call out the deer because it wasn't a genuine laugh. But what I could see when it was at Bunch of Plays was like all the children were so great doing such thing. And this little girl brought so much, such a big smile on my face because she loved the bubblegum deer, and she kept laughing in order to get it every time. And in this one, she stomped her feet. To get the rock. And laughed again, just because. So yeah, I was here the whole day this day and was so lucky to watch this happen. I did ask for the permission of the dad to keep the footage. It just brought so much joy to me, and I was so glad to see that children came back to play it the second time and third time, those who live nearby. So yeah, yeah, it was such a heartfelt thing. And this interactive sound responsive interactive installation has recently been commissioned by Experimenter to live for another 3 years. So hopefully we'll be able to see it alive again soon somewhere. So it's part of experimenters life forms. It will tour Australia for 3 years from 2020 to 2023. You can, and this version is called You, Me, Things. You can read about it on Experimenters website and follow Experimenters Facebook to keep an eye on the date of the launch, which is later this year. But in Yumi Things, you're not calling out specific creatures, fauna and flora anymore from making a specific sound to the microphone. You will be just creating parts of the world, and these parts, when in the world, will interact with each other and have their own relationships, and this world will evolve from that. So that's it to YOMECI, Yumi in the City, from the first day till now. I started YOMECI because I wanted to be more playful, and because there was a live event that happened just a little bit before I commencing these experiments that made me feel like I need to attend to my close ones more, being there for them, listen to what they have to say. It started, and I felt like, so I do write music and I love listening to music, but I have never realized that sound and listening has such a big impact on me, not just a person, but as a creative, a maker, until I got to listen to a voice message of a loved one who unfortunately passed away at that time, just before I commenced YOMECI, Yumi in the City. And I got to hear a voice message of his when he's not there anymore. And it had such a big impact on me, how the voice of someone you love, I felt like it, not just hearing, it was in my whole body. So I seek to once again explore, to explore that more, and had that same feeling when I walked around listening to Melbourne. So I play by listening, and I listen to feel more belonged. And I have been seeking to create an opportunity for everyone to experience that with my work. I hope you've enjoyed today's little talk, watching all the animations and vignettes and hearing about Yumi and the city. I am excited to continue doing work like this, and I've always loved, and I would really love to, if to bring this to more people and all of us to enjoy. So listen carefully to the world around you, be there, live it, stay connected. And the next time when you walk out, maybe try listening to the city or your town more. Maybe you'll hear something you've never heard before in your neighborhood, or like even inside the home as well. Thank you for listening to my talk. And I'm open to questions if you have. Have you experimented with spatial audio much? Yes, actually it was, so I played around with making acousmatic compositions before making YOMECI land, because after all of the street recordings that I've got, I tried telling story without the use of image and just audio. But I guess my skills sets and also my work so far, I need to tell stories more than just sound. Like I took the inspiration from sound and I be in sound, but I need more in order to deliver. So I did experiment with spatial acousmatic compositions, and it was a lot of fun. I was still doing my master back then, and fortunately RMIT has a spatial sound studio, so I got to be there for a while, and it was a lot of fun. And when doing research, I came across also lots of spatial sound composers. Yeah, but I don't have, I think partly because I don't have access to a spatial sound system at home. So it's a bit trickier to continue creating work after study that way. But thank you so much for asking that, because that was exactly where I was going after sound walking and listening to the streets. Have you been on many of the guided sound walks around Melbourne? Yes, I went on a few. I went on lots with just myself and a few friends. But I went on a guided sound walk once as part of Melbourne Jazz Festival with Anthony Ants. And it was great. I remember, because it was a very novel experience, because I had been sound walking myself a lot before that, but I never, and I read about guided sound walks a lot, but I'd never been in one before. So that was great. I remember we were walking and stayed under this bridge. And when we stayed under the bridge, everything was amplified so much. I could hear footsteps of people as they were walking from side to the other, and it didn't sound like footsteps at all. So the experience, it sounded like when I mentioned being in sound, I think that moment I've got so far was one of the best example. Like it was all around you, and although you have people around, I wasn't even the sensory experience of listening gave to me was so much that I wasn't even looking around anymore. We were asked to close our eyes to fully experience it, but I think I didn't even need to do that, because it was really intense and interesting already. Is there some in-game between people interactive component? For in the work that I've done so far, the clearest we've seen in between people in experience is in YOMECI land at Bunjo Place. Although there is just one microphone and one button in the gallery space, people work together in order to make a sound or interact with each other in order. So for example, the parents tickling their kids in order to make the laughing sound was a really nice interacting moment between players. I was able to also see players clapping together, because when one person clapped, it didn't get the they wanted to create both the clapping and the stomping creature, for example, and had to collaborate with each other. So depending on what they want to see on the screen, it was very interesting to see how the interaction and how people played it emerged from time to time. Also, people singing together and trying the different kind of songs, or like singing a song super slow together in order to create a thing. That was what I saw from YOMECI Land when it was an interactive installation. Awesome. Thank you so much, Yad and Ben and Freeplay and everyone who are watching and will be watching. Thank you so much for being here with me and listening to me talking. Have a great day, and I hope that your new week will also be lovely.